All right, chapter 33 of the book of Numbers. So this is actually getting really close to the end of this book. This is the fourth book in the book of Moses series in the beginning of the Old Testament. So we're going to pause just a little bit on the story. There's going to be some reminiscing going on in this chapter as to what's going on. So they're kind of going back and thinking about all the things that have happened up to this point as they're getting ready to go into the promised land and to take over the land that's there. So let's go through and reminisce with them a little bit on this. So verse 1, these are the journeyings of the children of Israel, which went forth out of the land of Egypt with their armies under the hand of Moses and Aaron. And Moses wrote their goings out according to their journeyings by the commandment of the Lord, and these are their journeyings according to their goings out. So Moses was told, this is verse 2, to basically document this, write all this down. This is important. Most prophets have been writing things down, documenting stuff, and I have heard rumors, and I'm pretty sure this is a true pattern, that our current prophets and apostles are keeping a journal also. Not just a journal for themselves and what's going on, but of the teachings, of the things that they learn, of the observations and stuff like that to have. When we get access to that, I don't know, but that would be great to have access to some of those things that, because really, if you think about it, that's most of what the scriptures are about, especially the Book of Mormon, is the doings of the people to an extent from the perspective of the prophet. So if you ever wonder what it's like to think like a prophet, read the Book of Mormon. And if you think that way about our day and age, you'll see a different perspective than what the average member sees. And if you've done that experience, put it in the comments. Would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. So, all right, verse 3, they departed from Ramses in the first month, on the 15th day of the month, on the morrow of the Passover, the children of Israel went out with an high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. For the Egyptians buried all their firstborn, which the Lord had smitten among them upon their gods. Also the Lord executed judgments. So there's probably, I think when the children of Israel finally left, it was good riddance. The Egyptians are like, dude, we don't want to deal with these people. We're having a day of mourning as we're burying our firstborns. This is a bad, solemn day. Get out of here. We don't want to see you anymore. So the Egyptians were probably happy to see that Israel leave, basically. Verse 5, the children of Israel removed from Ramses and pitched in Succoth. They departed from Succoth, pitched in Etham, which was in the edge of the wilderness. And they removed from Etham, turned again unto Pi-hahiroth, which is before Baal-zephon, and they pitched before Migdal. So one thing that's important to look at, they're going to go through and talk about these things as far as like where they settled and where they pitched their tents and some of these places. If you pull up in the back of a Bible, you'll see a map of the ancient Israel area, especially an LDS Bible. You can find this in the Gospel Library app also in your study helps. They have maps. And you can pull this map up of the Middle East and see their journeyings from Egypt up through, across the Red Sea, through the deserts, up towards the promised land, and then back around through the wilderness, and then up and around where the Midianites were as they're getting ready to come up around the Dead Sea to get into their promised land, basically. So this is not so much telling the story, but talking about the locations they went to. So when you combine this information with the stories, we start to get a little bit better understanding of where they were when certain things happened. So you can look these up on the map. Okay, we're going to go, there's a whole lot of them here. Let's see, Kadesh and in the Mount Hor and the edge of the land of Edom. Verse 38, Aaron the priest went up into the Mount Hor at the commandment of the Lord and died there in the 40th year. So that's, remember, Moses and Aaron went up and got the revelations, another revelation, but then Aaron never came back down. Whether Aaron just gave up the ghost and died, just left and it was done, or whether he was sick and had problems and ended up having an incident up there that resulted in his death or whatever. We don't know exactly. But that just remind you, that's where that happened, basically. And then they go out, they pitch, they move around quite a bit. They departed out of the mountains of Abarim, remember, pitched their plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho. And remember, the Moabites wouldn't work with them, so they came out to fight them, so they had to Israel had to defend themselves against all that. So interesting. So now verse 51, sorry. Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when ye are passed over Jordan into the land of Canaan. Okay, this is the river Jordan that flows north, basically. It flows north. It flows south, excuse me. The Sea of Galilee is up higher, and then the river Jordan comes down, and then there's the Dead Sea. Remember, they're on the far side of it. So they're going to cross Jordan to get to the other side above the Dead Sea, and then they're going to come into the land of Canaan, basically over that way. So verse 52, then ye shall drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you and destroy all their pictures, destroy their molten images, and quite pluck down all their high places. High places meaning places where they would worship their idols up on the hilltops, things like that have shrines up there. Verse 53, ye shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land and dwell therein, for I have given you the land to possess it. So this is the children of Israel are going to have to displace the people, basically. Now, that doesn't mean the children of Israel are being aggressors against them in war. It could mean that. It could be that they're coming and going, look, God has given us this inheritance. We are the descendants of Abraham. This is their inheritance. So we need this land. You need to move over and get out of here. And I'm sure the people are like, look, we're not going to leave, so we're going to fight, and we're going to defend, and so that turns into a battle. But again, it doesn't guarantee, this doesn't guarantee explicitly say that the children of Israel are the aggressors. They're marching in and just wiping people out. They could have come in to negotiate, to talk to them, and then end up getting into a fight. That's possible as well. Verse 54, ye shall divide the land by lot for an inheritance among your families, and to the more ye shall give the more inheritance, to the fewer ye shall give the less. Every man's inheritance according shall be in the place where his lot falleth. Remember, we talked about that just a couple of chapters ago, how they divided up those lots. Verse 55, but if ye will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain, of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land wherein ye dwell. So this is fascinating because in a way, there's a choice here. They don't have to kick everybody out. They could come in and live next to the people. But what they're being warned is if you do that, if you go down that choice, which is not the choice that God wants, that you can be in a situation that's not going to be good long-term, because these other groups are going to cause you problems. They're going to be a problematic people for you and going to make your life miserable. So they need to get them all out, basically, and get rid of them and get rid of any indications and signs of religion among them, because most people back then were idol-worshiping religions. And so God wants all that wiped out so that they can focus on their worshiping the true God and not idols, basically. So it makes that a little bit easier for them. So let's see in the next chapter, the continuation of this story.